what we're doing, going back to this pipeline, the pipeline will build the cluster. We don't want to build the cluster manually, right? So the pipeline will build the cluster. The cluster will be created. Then you see that we have a Kubernetes cluster is created, which is number 2, right? This orange box or pinky box is going to be created.
Okay.
Then we go and set the DNS entry for the Kubernetes API, because if we don't have a DNS entry that points to the API, we cannot resolve that, and we cannot talk to the Kubernetes API, which we need to in order to basically start to use the Kubernetes API, right?
Yep.
So the next step for us would be to do that, create a DNS entry, get the kubectl configurations to basically talk to the Kubernetes API. Once that is done, then is where your part is gonna end, right? So what we want to do is see there is a commit in commits in cluster repo and commits in cluster repo apps. So this is going to be a little bit different because I am working on this, but there is a concept of core applications, which is I just create and I send out, right? I just created a new repository called core apps.
Okay.
And then there's going to be another repository I'm building is called Kubernetes environments. So in the Kubernetes environments, there are going to be a list of applications that are run, right? So let me show this repository for a second. I see this is the one I just created. These are forget about the storage, this PKS STL, and these are the clusters that are there.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So each cluster will be the cluster is in that environment. So together with the cluster, there will be a description of the cluster requirements, which is going to be a YAML file. So that will be built, and the YAML file has a name of a type of the file of the cluster. So it will be a type, control, or single tenant or multi-tenant. Right?
Okay, so this is how we need to differentiate the cluster. That's one of the question actually.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. And so then what happened is that at the end, the cluster is built and the DNS entry is done. The last thing that the PKS, the Concourse pipeline will do, once you obtain control of the Kubernetes API, will basically launch a job, which will be the job that you're going to work on. Okay?
Okay.
What that job is going to do is going to do the following. It's going to go and retrieve the, and we won't probably pass in the job environment variables like what is the cluster name, what is the plan, what is the type, right, and this kind of stuff. So you don't have to do any guesswork. You're going to have all the information in your environment variables. You will be able to retrieve all of those, and or in parameters, we will see what is better, right? Maybe parameters. And so then what you're going to do is you see there is outside the environment, there is a mapping YAML. So there is a YAML file that tells you the mapping. So your job will clone this repository, will then create a new folder in that repository with the name of the cluster, right? Because the cluster didn't exist, right? So, I mean, the cluster has been created now, it's available, but it's not represented in the repository, right? You will create a folder with the name of the cluster, exactly the same name of the cluster. And then inside that folder, based on the type of that cluster, right? So is this a single tenant? Is this a multi-tenant? Is this a control? There will be a list of apps that needs to be copied. And I will build a file for you. Okay? So once you've done that, then the apps are basically, if you go here, those are already there. If I, for instance, go into the cube, these are all the apps. See how many there are?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And now what I'm gonna do also is that you see the istio, it's disabled. I need to ask about it. Logging, right? There are this thing, customization YAML, and which takes some, and this will need to be changed because you see it goes grab stuff from the apps and the namespaces.
Okay.
But then there's a patch, so it's gonna patch this file. So then if I go here and I look at the patch, it's basically replacing these names. Now you see that here there is the name of the file.
Okay.
Right? The name of the cluster in it. So I'm gonna create for each one of these. I'm gonna create a templating folder where you can find the templates for each of these apps.
Okay.
No, you're not following me. So I hear from your voice you're not following. So let me recap.
Yeah.
So okay, environments, right?
Okay.
There is the name of the cluster, which is this guy, the cluster definition.
Yes.
Then you build the folder. Then to understand what you need to put in the folder, the mapping will tell you what to put in that folder, right? But now it's not just enough to put things into the folder because each individual app may need to be customized or they may need to be made dependent on the name of the cluster. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a template folder, which is probably at the level of environments, right? So it will be here, right?
Yeah.
Templates. And then inside the templates, there are all the apps. And so you need to grab for each apps you find in the mapping, grab the app, and then fill the template and save the YAML into that folder. So if the YAML, let's say app is called this app here, right? Go back to this. Let's say we were in Cube, let's say US Curator.
Yes.
Or
logging,
right? So logging has these two. Customization, there is no variables, right? So you just copy it over. Then you go to the next file, it's this guy. You find there is a variable. I put a variable in here. And I will use the Golang, the YAML template traditional thing with the curly brackets, right? So if you find and I will put like cluster.name, so you know you need to replace it with the cluster name.
Cluster name, yeah, cube, yeah.
Right? So then you replace the variable with the cluster name, and then you save the YAML file with the same name into to the corresponding folder.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yeah. Looks good.
Okay. So in that way, now what we've done is that the cluster has been built. We're creating a folder for the cluster. We know which application for the cluster type needs to be added, right? From the mapping. We add those, and then we basically customize between codes. We make them specific for that particular cluster.
Okay.
Once all of this is finished, that means that cluster is ready to be provisioned. So the last thing to do will be to basically, and I'll add that, I haven't added yet, so let me open the other repository. So PKS POC. So the PKS POC is the PKS POC is the folder that currently has everything in it, which I'm trying to split, right? There is this other guy called Argo configs. So if you see here, environment, dev, cluster, cube. So these have these configs to deploy the different things. So if I go back to Kibana, which I don't know if there is Kibana here. Oh, problems. Yes, logging.
So this guy will deploy Argo CD.
Yeah, basically, see what it does is environments PKL cube logging. So it's pointing to that repository.
Yes.
To deploy everything. And the URL will be of the repository is the same, and then what is and is deploying to cube. So, and I need to check with Stephen how to do this, because what I would like to do is that you do the change in one place, and then all of these are taking. But that's the point, right? So what's going to happen is that Argo is going to see this change here that you just created, right, in the cube. So if I go back to this guy, into the environment, PKS, cube,
logging,
right?
Yeah.
It's going to see this folder has been created, and then Argo automatically is going to see there isn't
another new,
right? There isn't anything built in there, so it's going to just go and provision all the content. So the last thing you need to do is, in your job, you basically set up Argo to monitor those repositories you just created, right? And then Argo will take over from it. So then your job can stop.
Oh,
and then
okay.
Argo will provision all the content.
And it will deploy whatever that necessary.
Exactly. Because we run those YAML files, deploy them, and check that everything is fine and all of that.
Cool. Yeah. Looks good, Fabio. Yep. I think I've got an idea about this guy probably now. So, yeah, I'll look into them and I'll work on them probably. Yep.
So really, what this Kubernetes, what this job needs to do is manipulate the GitHub repo. That's all it has to do.
Yeah, I get that.
It's manipulating the GitHub repo and YAML files. That's the majority of the work.
Yeah.
You don't write to databases, you don't write anything. Your storage is Git. So you clone the repository, make changes, and then make a commit.
Yeah.
And then push that change into that commit.
Yes. I get that. I totally get that now. Bro. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe I should run a cron job or something like that. I am having a lot of different thoughts in me before,
no, it's simple,
but it's clear now. Yeah.
And the way this is work is actually this repository will be the same repository that is going to trigger the creation of the cluster. So what is going to happen is that if I create a new file in this repository, which will follow this format, right?
Okay.
And I commit that, and I do this manually, right? That will trigger my pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay. And then ultimately, once the cluster is built, because it's going to take hours to build the cluster, depending on the size of the cluster. The cluster is built, the DNS entry is done, then your job is fired, which will basically find a file, build a folder, put all the relevant apps, set up the stuff in Argo, and then you're done.
Yeah, I get that. So getting this particular thing to the Argo is my job. So the Argo will automatically deploy at the whatever the change is. Yeah, exactly. I get that.
You need to create all the configurations and make everything good for. So to start with, let's plan to automate the known control. Right?
Okay.
Because the control, the control is slightly different from the others.
Okay.
Because for the control, you will need also to deploy Argo.
Okay.
That's going to be a little bit different, right? Because if it is a control cluster, Argo needs to be deployed. And I think what we can do, because that is a difference, we may take that difference and push to your Kubernetes job, or we can leave your Kubernetes job as is, never deal with, deal with control by having Argo deployed
Okay.
with a different job at the which part is what I want to do, have that as a separate job running on from the concourse pipeline. See what I'm saying? So the concourse pipeline is going to come, let's build the cluster, create the DNS entry, then it's going to check, oh, is this a control or not? It's not a control, so call your job. If it's a control, then it deploys Argo and wait for Argo to be up and then call your job.
Oh,
so from your side, you do exactly always the same thing, irrespective of what type it is, right? The Argo deployment is taken care by the pipeline, which I think is a better way of doing it.
Okay. So the thing is, like, I should define two separate methods to call call this Argo working, right? So probably if this is a control type of the cluster.
What I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to separate the job, right? I'm trying to give you a very simple set of things that you deploy the apps and you set up Argo. That's all you do. You always assume Argo is there.
Okay.
The fact that Argo is now maybe not there because control, you are working on a control cluster, I pushed that to Venkata. Venkata is gonna, before invoking your job, is gonna basically go and make sure that Argo is being deployed.
Okay. Right. Okay, sure. So I will work like this. Should I work considering 3 clusters as the same, like can I take the stand like the Argo is there?
You just look at the mapping, right? That will tell you the application that needs to be in any of those, and that's all you need to care about.
Okay. Cool. Right. Yeah, looks good, Fabio. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank me. It's part of my job. So just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what I will do is I will just assume 3 clusters are having the Argo, and I will tell.
Well, it's generic, right? Because you need to read the type, and then in the type, because in the future we may have another type, right? So we want to make sure that don't hard code the types. You rely on whatever type is basically available here, right? If it's control, single tenant, multi-tenant, then there must be a mapping. So a mapping, then might have a type. Right?
Okay.
If you don't find that type in the mapping, so if I can tell you the control the cluster is called Fabio, type Fabio, and you don't find the mapping for it, then you throw an error.
Okay. I get that. Right? That's why we need the type of the cluster.
Like, the control type doesn't have a mapping, and you throw an error.
Yeah.
Crash. Okay?
Yeah.
Because in the future I may want to add another type of cluster. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's very flexible nature. This the way it's done, right? Because I can also change the way the applications are deployed. So let's say in the future I want to add a new application into the control, or I want to add a new application into something else. I launch your job. Oh, by the way, this is the other thing your job should do. In case those folders are already there, you shouldn't touch them. Right? So if in the mapping it says the application name is X, and there is already a folder called X for inside, if it is already a folder and there is X, don't touch it. Right?
Okay.
So and for now we may not do that, but later on we may extend it. So what I'm going to is that it should be able to create new clusters, but I think if you want to update what applications are there, you should be able to do that too.
Yes. I get that.
Like tomorrow I add an app 3 here in control, right? I just rerun your job from within the cluster.
Yeah, then it should
will update me with the other app that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that right now. Yeah. In future, if you add another same type of cluster, also you can just run this job and you can deploy all these apps, right?
To the old clusters, and I'll bring them all to the same state. Yes.
Yes. I got it, Fabio. Yeah, I will work on that. If anything, if I'm blocking by anything, I'll contact you right away. I'll.
Well, right now, I think what you need to do is to just start to build a Java application, sorry, a Python application, and
Mhm.
I send you the link of the Bitbucket. There is a official Bitbucket
Mhm.
repository, GitHub repository to manage, right?
Yeah.
So try to play with that and clone the repo, see if you can, do a
Mhm.
commit and changes. And
Mhm.
I created those repositories. I'm gonna play with those and add more stuff,
Mhm.
and then probably I'm gonna review with the rest of the team.
Okay.
But I think you have the overall idea of what needs to be done, right?
Yes. 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 Yeah. I'll go ahead and I'll see. I'll see. Yep. What I can do there. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
cool.
basically you be dependent. I mean, we can run your job. We
Mm.
can create a cluster manually,
Mhm.
configure it manually,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
then we can test your stuff. So you're not blocked by Vencarta or the network changes because we can still run your job manually.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
See if it works, right? On a
Mhm.
brand new cluster. We can create a small cluster,
Mhm.
build it, you can run your job, see if it's populated correctly,
Mhm.
and then destroy the cluster, and we can try again, right? So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
you are unblocked anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. 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 I will do that. I will do that. And I will also try to find this complaint scanner also in the meantime, like in the meanwhile. So probably I will work on this all this week probably.
Yeah, you always have more than a story because,
Yeah.
by my experience in Mastercard, things don't move very fast. And
Yeah.
so if you are on a story and you're waiting
Mm-hmm.
for, like in your case, pivotal or other stuff, you may end up there, you're wasting your time. You're just there sitting down, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
you have two stories because you can work on one when you're blocked on the other one and vice versa. And this story, you should be pretty much on your own. So you shouldn't depend on anybody. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That it looks like that. So probably. Yeah.
and I'll create those stuff today. So you will have the example of the mapping and all of that.
Yeah. Please. Yeah. If you can do that, I'll take.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Don't worry.
Yep. Yep. So. Yep. Thank you.
That's my story. So
Yeah, if you can send me that link, you send it to me,
I
right?
put it on Flowdoc. They're on
Oh,
Flowdoc. I put it to the entire team.
okay, okay,
To
cool. Yep, yep. I'll look into it. Yep.
Okay. Anything
Yeah,
else?
actually, you have answered all of my questions. I thought of asking what are the different types of services we have and how can we differentiate this cluster and all these questions I wanted to ask, but I think most of the questions you have answered.
Okay. How
Yeah.
is it going in general? I mean, are you happy? Is everything working fine? Are you getting the grips of it?
Yeah, right now everything is okay, Fabio. Like, actually, only thing is I don't have the desk right now, so I've been moving there and here. But
Oh, I see. Have you tried to go in the room where Steven and Allison are sitting?
yeah,
Did
I'll
anybody see you
maybe
there?
yeah, I will try that. But it's okay. Like, I have this canteen here. Like, what is it? Cafeteria. So I'm very much
Okay.
comfortable there. So probably
Oh,
I
you
can
sit
work.
in the cafeteria?
Yeah, right now.
Well, you should go to the room with Steven and Allison also because so they get to know you and you can ask them stuff and they're very knowledgeable. So
Yeah.
and Steven knows everything about
Uh-huh.
Argo CD, so he's the guy that you may ask stuff about it. So I would recommend you to do that. Go in that room
Sure,
uh,
sure, sure.
at
Yep.
least a couple of times a week, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Then if you need quiet time to do your own things, the cafeteria or any small room you can find is fine. But
Yes,
uh,
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it
yeah.
sounds good actually. Yeah, I will try that maybe. I'll go.
Don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger. And then when I'm over the week after the next,
Uh-huh.
we will go for a welcome lunch and
Uh-huh.
something like that. I'll
Yeah.
talk to Karen about it, so you
Yeah.
will know and the entire team and all of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Fabio. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries. No
Yep.
worries. Okay. Good. Have you moved already, or are you still in the process?
I just moved yesterday evening.
Oh, you did move yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're
Yeah.
not close to the office. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Very
like
good.
10 minutes away from here, so I'm pretty much comfortable here right now.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Very. Okay.
Yeah, Fabio. Thank you
Okay,
so
any
much.
other question, anything else that you want to know? Or
Uh, no, not right now. But I think it looks
and
good
by
right
the
now.
way, this is the other thing I want to make sure. So I am now. the type of person that
Uh-huh.
doesn't want to be disturbed, or you need to be fearful, or just you have a question, you are blocked, you have a question, just ask me. Okay?
Okay,
Send
okay.
me a message and say, hey, I'm struggling, I don't get this. Can we set something up? Or so feel free, don't feel afraid.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
approachable. You can
I
ask
can
anything,
sense
right?
that actually, Fabio. I felt very much comfortable at this start of our conversation only. But I think, I'm quite new in here, this environment, so I was like little afraid. Like, should I ask? Maybe they're busy,
Yeah,
something,
that's what
some.
I'm saying. Because people may think like, oh, should I talk to this guy, or he's gonna be pissed? No, no,
Yeah.
no. Just drop me a message. I may not be able to come back to you immediately, but as soon as I can, I will. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I spend so much time with your colleague Rohit in England that you have no idea.
Okay.
So, so don't worry about it, right? And
Okay.
also been pairing with Venkata a lot. So anytime you guys are struggling, it's my job to make sure that you carry on.